This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. It's time for the GunGuyTV podcast.
Hi, I'm Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for all of your support of GunGuyTV. I am super grateful that you listen to this podcast and you support me with my video program and the blog and all of that. This is going to be kind of a tough podcast because I have to get kind of negative before I can get positive. So I hope you'll bear with me. I don't want to leave you on a negative note, but unfortunately, that's sort of the path I have to take through this podcast in order to do it. Now, before I get started, I want to remind you that this podcast is about 1 hour long. The first half of an hour is available free on your favorite podcast player, and then I also post it on YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute, and the other video hosting sites. The second half is for my GunGuyTV crew members, and you'll find it only on GunGuyTV crew. So if you want to listen to the entire podcast, the entire hour, then you have to listen to it on crew, and you got to be a member of crew. And you can do that by going to GunGuyTVcrew.com, or you can go to the link in the description. You'll also find on GunGuyTV Crew, there's a lot of videos that I post. I try to post something every day, Monday through Friday. Every once in a while I miss, but most of the time I'm posting there a lot more than I post anywhere else. So check out GunGuyTV Crew at GunGuyTVcrew.com. All right, now that we got past the business part of this whole thing, get ready because, well, I'm going to call out empty cans, do-nothings, and get-alongs. I told you it's going to start off kind of negative. I apologize. I don't mean to do that to you, but I think I got to cover this subject because the situation keeps getting worse, not better. So I hope that by doing this, I will motivate a few folks to get off the couch and get into the fight, to stop making noise and to start making a difference, and to stop being so nice and start fiercely fighting for their rights. So first, let's deal with the negatives. I'm going to see if I can knock those out, and then we'll get that over with, and then we can talk about the positives and where we go from here. That's my goal, okay? So stick with me, even through the negative stuff, please. I don't mean to insult anybody, but I think it's wake-up time, so I'm going to call some people out, and probably a little bit of my own character along the way as well. There is an old saying, an empty can makes more noise than a full one. And unfortunately, in my experience, the world is full of empty cans. Social media is packed full of empty cans. People who make all kinds of noise, but they actually don't ever accomplish anything. They rant, they preach, they scold, they curse, they make a lot of noise, but they do absolutely nothing to affect change. And those are empty cans. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be an empty can. Now, the other day, I engaged with a guy on social media who ranted and raved that the Constitution was useless, government was pointless, and that nothing I was doing to fight the battle would ever amount to anything. I responded by asking him, okay, if you believe that we are that far gone, if you believe that we're that lost, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? His response was, the "what are you going to do about it" response is the problem. Wait, what? So the problem is not that he's not doing anything, it's that I ask him, if you feel so strongly about this, what are you going to do? What steps are you going to take? Well, the obvious answer is he wasn't going to do anything. There were no steps he was going to take. The dude was an empty can. He is an empty can. He makes a lot of noise. He burns up a lot of time. He gets on and rants and raves and debates with people, but that's it. He makes no effort to affect a change. Now, you can't tell me that you haven't run into a whole bunch of empty cans, particularly online, but you find them other places as well. I run into empty cans all the time at the range or at the gun store, or for that matter, at Starbucks while I'm waiting for a cup of coffee. We've got to stop being empty cans. I confess to you right now that sometimes I have been an empty can. So it's not just you or someone else I'm calling out. I'm calling myself out too. I mean, I think we all have a little bit of this in our character. What I'm doing today is pointing it out. Do-nothings are very closely related to empty cans, by the way. In fact, it's common for people to be both an empty can and a do-nothing at the same time. As you might imagine, as I said, I spend a lot of time at ranges and gun stores, gun shops, doing outdoor things, outdoor stores, and like that. And it's in places like that more often where people will recognize me and come up and talk to me and chat with me. And quite often, I wish I could say it wasn't quite often, but it is. Quite often, they will tell me their sad tales. They'll express their disappointment with the gun laws in California in particular. They cry, woe is me, and then they expect me to join in with them and to cry, woe is me too, and complain and moan and whine. But instead, I often ask, well, did you vote? No. Have you joined CRPA or Gun Owners of California or Gun Owners of America or another organization that might fight for your rights? No. Have you called or written your elected representatives? No. Have you attended any 2A rallies? No. Have you volunteered to help any 2A organizations? No. The answer is almost universally no, 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 to every question I ask, which might be how are they being involved in the fight and what are they actually doing? The answer is universally nothing. Such people are do-nothings. Now, that may hurt your feelings, and if it does, well, it's probably because you've been a do-nothing. Stop it. Do something. I've been a do-nothing before. I've been an empty can. I've been a do-nothing. You know, I'm going to tell you the things that irritate me in other people's character are generally the things in my own character that I don't like. So as I'm pointing these things out to you, understand I'm also pointing them out to me. Those kinds of people are do-nothings. They just like to moan and cry and get others to cry the blues along with them. But they don't ever do anything. And that doesn't accomplish anything except making them feel better about having moaned and cried and gotten somebody else to do it with them. Then, of course, there are the get-alongs. Okay, I know, I attached some names to these. Empty cans, do-nothings, and get-alongs. Yes, I made them up. Okay, I didn't make up the empty cans, but everything else I did, okay? Sometimes I'm an empty can, I've confessed it already. Sometimes I'm a do-nothing, and sometimes I'm a get-along. Okay, so let's talk about the get-alongs. The get-alongs are more concerned about being polite than they are about being free. Now, you may find that very difficult to believe, but they are. They're more concerned about being polite than they are about worrying about and being concerned about and fighting for their own freedom and the freedoms of others. Every time I call Joe Biden China Joe or Slow Joe or, what is it Sean Hannity calls him, Sippy Cup Joe, or I call Kamala Harris K. Mala or Horrible Harris, or I call Gavin Newsom Gavin Gruesome or Gavin Nuisance or Gruesome Nuisance or whatever, somebody will post a comment scolding me for name-calling. Stop name-calling, they'll say. Scolding me because they'll say, you're creating division. Well, now, wait a minute. Hold on a second. The division is there, and it was not created by me. Or they'll say simply that I'm being impolite. Impolite, they'll say. You're being impolite. I've actually been called impolite a few times. Now, before I go any further, let me just say to you that I am sometimes impolite. I try not to be. And I do have a long history of being a guy that if I like you, you know it. And if I don't like you, you don't have to figure that out. Now, I've tried, as I've gotten older, to be more polite. But I'm not by nature a people person, so sometimes I can be rough around the edges and kind of gruff. I really try not to be. So if I'm ever that way with you, just as a side note, please call me out on it because I don't want to be impolite. But the idea that I'm just being this horrible person, that I'm being rude. Stop the name calling, stop being rude. And then they'll say something to the effect of, you're better than that. That's a real common thing. I've read that a lot. You're better than that, they'll say. Because they'll say, stop doing that. You're better than that. Okay, well, look, I want to take a minute here and just shine some light on the situation for you. But before I do that, unfortunately, I've run up against a break. I'm going to take a quick break here real quick. Just take me a minute. And then I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to shine some light on the situation for you. Because as I'm recording this, Joe Biden and his ilk are trying to take your freedoms from you. So we'll cover that in just a minute. A great way to support GunGuyTV without costing yourself 1 red cent is to use our Amazon link when you shop Amazon. Now, I know Amazon is not exactly a gun-friendly company. If anything, they're anti-2A, and they're anti-freedom, and they're anti-free speech, and all these other things. But the fact is that a lot of people, most people, not all people, but most people shop Amazon anyway, and you probably do, and I have to confess that sometimes I do as well. Well, okay, if we're going to shop Amazon anyway, at least let's pick Amazon's pocket a little bit and put some support behind some things that we wish to support. And one of those things can be GunGuyTV. We have an Amazon affiliate link. And so what that means is if you use our link when you purchase something with Amazon, everything you buy, you're picking Amazon's pocket for a little bit of money, and that money's going to support GunGuyTV. So if you want to do that, because you know you're going to shop Amazon anyway, you can tell all your friends you didn't, I guess, but then if you're going to do it, then at least use our link to do that. The easiest way to do it is to look for the link in the description. I'll put it down there for you. If you can't find it in the description, you can go to our website at GunGuy.tv, or if you want to, you can go to GunGuyTV.com, doesn't matter. And then you can go to the menu item at the top that says discounts on gear, and in there you'll see the list for the Amazon link. Or if you want, right on the front page, unless you have an ad blocker or something, there should be a couple of Amazon banners. You can click on those. That'll take you to the Amazon page. It'll take you actually to Amazon, but that Amazon page it takes you to is connected to our affiliate link. So if you then bookmark that page, and every time you go to Amazon, you go to that bookmark first, everything you buy at Amazon, you will pick Amazon's pocket and put some money in the pocket of GunGuyTV and help me keep this thing going. So please do shop Amazon, if you're going to do it anyway, through our Amazon link.
You're listening to the GunGuyTV podcast. Please pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
All right, now I promised you I was going to shine some light on the situation for you, because as I said before, while I'm recording this at this very moment, and frankly, while you're listening to this, Joe Biden and his ilk on the federal level, and Gavin Newsom and his ilk on the state level here in California and local level here in California are trying to do these things to you. They're trying to force you to take an experimental vaccine. They're trying to make you prove that you've been vaccinated in order to work, travel, or do just about anything else. No, these things aren't gun-related, but they're freedom-related. They're trying to force the COVID vaccine on your children, even itty-bitty little children, even newborns at some point, it sounds like. And they want to require all kids to wear masks in school, all while allowing hundreds of thousands of COVID-infected illegals to waltz into our country unabated through our southern border without facing any of the COVID restrictions placed upon you. They want to destroy your right to free speech by censoring you on social media if you disagree with them on anything. The White House has already partnered with some big platforms to do just that. They want to force your daughters to compete against biological males in all levels of sports. They want to take away your ability to own a firearm that the government doesn't know about and doesn't approve of. And they want to restrict your access to the types of firearms best suited for your defense against both criminals and against them, a tyrannical government. They want to send your jobs to China. Or give them to illegals. It doesn't matter. One way or the other, I'm going to take your job, give it to somebody else who has nothing to do with this country. They want to use your tax money to provide free health care to illegals while you can't afford health care for yourself. Do I have to keep going? Need I list more for you? Probably not. I would hope not. I could go on this entire podcast and just list those things off the top of my head. I'm doing so right now. That's a pretty good list I've given you so far. It wouldn't be hard to keep going. In the face of all of this and a lot more that I don't really have time to list, get-alongs, clutch their pearls, get the vapors, and scold me for calling Biden China Joe. I'm the focus. Not this long list of stuff I just gave you. I'm calling him China Joe or Slow Joe, and well, clutch the pearls, get the vapors. That's what I didn't like about Trump, is he used to say things like that, and I just didn't like Trump because he used to say things like that. Never mind the fact that the guy was doing some great things for our country. The fact that he was rude once in a while was a little too much for some people. Look, we got to stop being get-alongs. Hello? Your freedom is being ripped away. It's being stolen from you. It's being ripped from you forcefully. I suggest that you stop worrying about being nice and stop pandering and start fiercely fighting for your rights. All right, so there you are. There's the negatives. I did them. I know it's a lot of them. I did them. And I did them pretty fast because I wanted to get through this first part to get to the positive stuff in the first half of the podcast because I don't want to leave you with nothing but negatives and then you're not part of crew and you can't hear the rest. I didn't want to do that to you, so I hope you don't mind. We wanted to get through the negatives first. All right, the negatives are done. I'm done with that. So there you are, okay? I've pointed out the problems. Now let's look at solutions and how we move forward, where we go from here, okay? I will say 2 words for you. Are you ready? You can write them down if you want. Take notes. Here we go. Cameron Serta. All right, now if you want to get after me, Cameron Serta. If you want to say it that way, that's fine. Cameron Serta is a young man from Kern County, California, who decided to take the bull by the horns and do something about California's unconstitutional gun control laws. He made that decision because he went to go buy a gun and he couldn't get what he wanted because of the stupid handgun roster. He was so flabbergasted by that, he started investigating the laws and decided this is ridiculous. He didn't really know about it because, like many of us, he was not paying attention. And it's amazing how the government can take advantage of you if you're not paying attention. And he wasn't. Well, now he is. He was a guest on my show the other day, and while he was on the show, I have to tell you, I became extremely impressed with that young man. He said some very inspiring things. In fact, I got a couple of clips for you, just so that you can hear them from Cameron himself. Here you go.
You know, I got this quote from my grandpa that I want to share with you. So, mind you, my grandpa or my grandparents, they immigrated from Mexico before I was born. And when I was young, he told me, he said, I've sacrificed a lot to come to America, and now you're an American. He said, it's your duty to change the world for the better. He says, and if you need help, you know, look to what your forefathers did. You know, look to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who fought for the oppressed. Look to Abraham Lincoln, who fought for what was right, and look to George Washington, who fought for freedom. And he said, you can either cower to your oppressors or you can stand up to them. You need to be the change that you want to see in America.
Each one of us has to be the change that we want to see in America. I love that quote from him. You need to be the change that you want to see in America. That stuck with me when he said it, and that's why I wanted to highlight it for you. Each one of us has to be that change. We have to decide what change we want to see in America, and then we have to be it. We have to go after it. Being an empty can won't do it. Being a do-nothing and expecting somebody else to do the job for us won't do it. We've tried that. Most of us have tried that. It hasn't worked. And as Einstein once said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the very definition of insanity. Each one of us has to get off the couch and get into the fight. For me, that meant starting GunGuyTV and the podcast and all this stuff, and using it as a megaphone to spread the word far and wide. And I'm doing that, and I do that, and it requires a lot of money out of my pocket and a lot of time out of my day. And I don't complain about it. No, by the way, as far as I know, Cameron is not getting paid for what he does. But what he does is different. For Cameron, it meant joining his local CRPA chapter in Kern County. It meant working his way through that chapter and eventually taking the bull by the horns by accepting the leadership position of that chapter. And then starting a 2A sanctuary effort in his hometown. Now, that, I'm got to tell you, I have no idea how to do that. And that's why I'm not in that position. He's a bright young man, and he's figuring that out. But even in talking with him, it's obvious to me that he doesn't know which way this journey is going to take him. And he doesn't know whether he's going to be successful or not. He doesn't know whether they're going to get this done in Kern County or not. What he does know is he's going to give it everything he's got and fight tooth and nail to make it happen. And if it doesn't work, he's going to try something else. During the interview, this part wasn't posted because we had to take it out just for time. is he said, you may not have noticed, but I'm a lot younger than you. And I laughed. I said, yes, you are. And he said, and I'll be around a lot longer. And if this doesn't work, I'll keep fighting. That makes a lot of sense, and that's what we need. You see, I'm an old guy. Rick Travis is an old guy. Sam Paredes is an older guy. If you're listening, sorry, Sam, I'm picking on you here. Chuck Michelle is an old guy. We're all old guys. Even Pete, my buddy who helps me with the channel, is an old guy. We're only going to be around for a short time. We need young men and women to take the lead in this fight and run with it. And that's exactly what Cameron is doing. That's exactly what he's doing. So for Cameron, it meant a different path than it did for me. Each one of us is different. Still, each one of us has a part to play. You have a part to play. Are you playing it? If you're not, then you got to start. We must stop expecting others to play our parts for us. I don't expect other people to do the part that I'm doing. Now, some are. Some are. And some are doing it differently. And maybe some are doing it better. I don't know. I have to confess, I honestly don't watch gun channels on YouTube. I just don't. But I hear from people that the other ones are doing a great job. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it. I'm doing what I'm doing. They're doing what they're doing. But each of us is fighting the battle differently. And some of them are really big, like Colin Noor, or however he says his name. I hope I didn't mess it up. His channel is huge, and he's quite the Second Amendment advocate. I'm grateful. I don't watch his show, but I understand that he's an incredible advocate, and I'm grateful for the work that he does. I guarantee you he doesn't watch my show either, so it's okay. Right, there you go. My point is that we have to stop expecting the other guy to do the part that we're supposed to do. And that includes you. You got to stop that. Do your part. Don't expect the other guy to do your part for you. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, well, where's NRA with this? Where's the California Rifle and Pistol Association on this? How come somebody isn't suing about this? Somebody needs to do something about this. Right. And if that somebody is you, then nobody's doing anything about it. And if you look around and nobody's doing anything about it, then get up off your butt and do something about it. We can either cower before our oppressors, or we can stand up to them. I love that quote, too, from his grandfather. I'll say it again. We can either cower before our oppressors, or we can stand up to them. We can't be nice anymore. I prefer to get along with people if I can. I'm not much of a people pleaser as that goes, but I do like to get along, and I like to be nice, and I like to have people be nice to me. Who doesn't? But the simple fact of the matter is, we're not going to get along with people who are stripping us of our freedom as I speak. We might as well stop trying to get along with them. We're not going to get along with them. And whenever we play nice, they love that. They love it when we play nice. Believe me, they're not trying to get along with you. They're trying to lord over you. They're trying to rob you of your free will to control your life. Friends don't do stuff like that. At least my friends don't. Maybe you've got some weird friends that do stuff like that. My friends don't do that to me, and I don't do that to them. You know who does that? Enemies do that. People who are not your friends do that. People who are out to control you, hurt you, harm you for their own benefit do that. That's who does that. I'll remind you, we can either cower before our oppressors or we can stand up to them. Joe Biden and his kind love it when we're nice. They love it when we play nice because they don't play nice. They lie, they cheat, they go around the corners, whatever. I mean, a great example of that was just, yesterday, I think. Joe Biden didn't like the fact that he couldn't get an extension on the mandatory eviction moratorium. Now, I should say, if you think that's a good idea, let me remind you that landlords own rental properties, and it's their business. My wife and I have some rental properties. It's not our full-time business, but it's part of my retirement. If you are renting my rental property from me and you don't pay your rent, I can't pay the mortgage. And if I can't pay the mortgage, eventually I lose the property. Not everybody who owns rental property is mega rich. In fact, most people who own rental property are not. They're like me. They're just doing it for their retirement or for, some way. Maybe it's a small business of theirs. I have a very good friend, John. He and his wife own a number of rental properties. They're not mega rich. If they can't evict people who don't pay the rent, they end up losing their properties they've worked their entire lives for. We're all old. We can't start all over again. We've worked our entire lives for these properties, and yet the government wants to say you have to let people live there for free. That's like going to a restaurant and saying you have to feed your customers for free and don't expect them to pay because they're not gonna. That's like going to the plumber and saying you have to run around all over the place and fix people's plumbing for free and don't expect to get paid. That's like saying to the guy who cuts your grass, I'm sorry, you got to cut my grass twice a week, and please don't expect me to pay you because the government has said that you have to come work for free. Never mind the fact that you got to put gas in your truck and you got to put gas in a lawnmower and you got to feed yourself and you got to burn up all this stuff. That's not my problem. I lost my job. I can't pay you, so you have to cut my grass for nothing. That's essentially what Biden was trying to do and did do through the Center for Disease Control. And guess what the court said? You can't do that. You don't have the power to do that. The CDC doesn't have the power to do that. That's unconstitutional. And they threw it out. So then they tried to get it through Congress. It wouldn't get through Congress. So what did Biden do? He went back and said, well, the CDC doesn't have the power to do it because the court said they don't have the power. But I'm going to tell them to do it anyway because I know it's going to take a while for the court to stop them. This is not a man who's being nice. This is not a man who's playing fair. Joe Biden and his kind love it when you play nice because they take advantage of you when you play nice. Joe Biden is not a nice guy. People say that all the time. He's not. He's a serial liar. He's a criminal who has used his office to enrich himself rather than serve the country for 50 years. And he's a traitor who sold his office to our enemies so that his son could make hundreds of millions of dollars for the Biden crime family. That's who Joe Biden is. We have to stop being nice to such people and start fiercely fighting for our rights. You can either cower before your oppressors or you can stand up to them. But don't expect others to do it for you. I'll be back in a moment. One of the greatest supporters this channel has is Second Call Defense. They have supported this channel since I started it, which has been very exciting. I'm very grateful for them. I've used them for a long time. So if you carry a gun or keep a gun for home defense, you'll find yourself with some serious legal battles if you are ever in a defensive shooting. God forbid that you ever are. But if you are, that's where Second Call Defense comes in. I've used Second Call Defense for years. I've recommended their service to my students for the entire time. They have supported this channel since I started it. There are a lot of options out there, but I urge you, before you decide, check out Second Call Defense. You'll find them by using the link in the description of this podcast, or you can visit my website at GunGuy.tv to find out more. Just look for the banner ad for Second Call Defense, or go to the menu item that says discounts on gear.
Shooting straight and always right on target. This is the GunGuy TV podcast.
Now, here's the conclusion of the matter, at least for the first half of the podcast, and then we'll move on to the second half. I am thoroughly and totally convinced that if we all get off the couch, determined each and every day to be the change that we want to see in America, just as Cameron Serta is, and with that spirit stand together and stand up to our oppressors, rather than cowering before them, we will win. Now, you can hem and haw and say, oh, no, it never works. We've been trying that for a long time, and all the other excuses that are all over the place. I hear them all the time. And the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Gee, I just realized I should have included Chicken Littles in this thing, too, and I didn't. All right, I didn't have enough time, so we'll talk about Chicken Little another day. Look, this is not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast. It's going to be a lot of work because we've let them get away with a lot for a very long time, and you don't overturn all that easily, and you don't do it in a short span of time. But we can do it, not individually, together. We can do it together, but we have to be determined. We have to get off the stinking couch. We have to stop being keyboard warriors who do nothing but make noise. We can't be empty cans. We can't be do-nothings. Those options are no longer on the table for us if we want to keep our freedoms. We cannot be those things anymore. And unfortunately, as much as I would like to be, we can't be nice anymore. We can't fight nice anymore. Frankly, we can't even fight fair. Fighting fair would be, we'll obey the laws until we can change them. But those days are over. The President of the United States is not obeying the law. He's been told by the highest court in the land, the United States Supreme Court, that having the Center for Disease Control put a moratorium on evictions is unconstitutional and they don't have the authority to do it. And he just did it anyway after admitting before the country that he didn't have the authority to do it, and neither did the CDC. He's not playing by the rules, and he doesn't care. And the rest of them don't either. So if they want to ban AR-15s, don't comply. If you can make a Second Amendment sanctuary out of your county, city, state, do it. Because it's essentially your local government saying they're not going to comply. At some point, we have to use civil disobedience because the system may not work anymore. In the meantime, we're using the system. In the meantime, are there lawsuits going on? Sure. In the meantime, are things working their way through the courts? Of course. I'm not advocating violence, so don't misunderstand. I'm talking about civil disobedience where it is an appropriate way to fight the battle. I don't think we can do it individually, but we can do it together. And that is what Cameron Serta has discovered. So if you're in a county and you want your county to be a Second Amendment county in the state of California, then don't wait for Cameron to do it. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. You do it. If you don't have a California Rifle and Pistol Association chapter in your county or in your town, then start one. Don't wait for someone else to do it. If you have an itch to start a podcast or whatever to help get the word out, then don't wait for me to do it. I've already done it. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. You do it. Whatever it is that you're driven to do to help with this effort, get off the couch and get with it. Get away from the keyboard. If all you have been is a keyboard warrior, if all you've been is an empty can on social media, then stop. Find something better. Find something that actually effects a change. And do that. And then support the rest of us who are also doing the same thing. And let us know what you're doing so we can ask folks to support you. That's how we're going to get this done. We're going to get it done together. We've got to get with it. We got to do the work. Well, I've run out of time. I got to get to the next part of the podcast, which is on GunGuyTV Crew. I'm going to talk about San Diego City Council's decision to ban what they call ghost guns. We'll talk about the eviction moratorium a little bit more and why it should concern you if you are a gun owner, not from an eviction perspective, but the precedent that it's setting, and a few other things that we'll discuss in the second half of the podcast, available only on GunGuyTV Crew. So if you're not a member of the crew, and you haven't joined, please do. If you don't wish to do that, then I'm going to wrap it up here. If you're part of GunGuyTV Crew, then stick with me. We'll get started with the next part in just a moment. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful week. And wherever you go, whatever you do, be safe.
You've been listening to the GunGuyTV podcast.